turn this on. Okay, so the face is the most interesting part, I think, of a portrait. So we need to place that somewhere in the center. So I'm just putting a general egg shape for now, just to start me off. So whether it's right or wrong, it's just giving me an idea of where to go. So, okay, so that's not too bad. Actually, it's not too bad. It actually worked quite well. Okay, so I'm gonna do the neck and the shoulder. I'm gonna be looking at the space behind the person so I can get that curve right. So I'm just going to put a little bit more emphasis on the chin over there. And then we're going to come down the neck looking at the angles. So I'm just seeing this one's the start of the neck. It's actually looking pretty straight, and then it turns a little bit like this. So I'm just taking my time because I want to make sure I get it right. This is where her pearls would be. So I'm just putting a little indication for that. And then thinking about the angle of her shoulder, which I'm just seeing what my line is going to do in comparison with the picture. So just putting that down over there. And that kind of continues. I think it bends a little bit. I just need to make this a little bit bigger. Let me just get this. Oh, the picture's not. Okay. Okay, I'm just getting a close-up, so I was just a little struggling with technology there to try and get that. Okay, so this is looking pretty round. Oops. So when I'm doing something like this round line, rather than doing one line, which some people can, you probably can, I'm just doing little quick lines following that shape because it gets much more of a nice smooth shape. Alright, so I've got that. Okay, so I'm going to use, I want to get around to the other side of the face, and I know that this shoulder on this side is actually lower down than the other one, but I want to make sure I get that right. So I am going to follow the pearls. So the pearls come up a little bit, and then they come down a little bit, and then they come around to about there. So that's sort of, yeah, that helped me decide where this front part of the neck might end. So maybe it's still somewhat of a guess. Okay, her neck is probably a little thick. Let me just make that a little smaller. I've got the same eraser I had last time, which was this black eraser, and this came with the charcoal. It's a charcoal eraser apparently, so that's the one I'm using. Okay, and I realize that my pearls are a little big, so I'm just going to adjust those and put them down there. So, you know, your first thing that you do helps you go to your second thing, then you adjust your second thing, and the first thing you realize wasn't quite as accurate, but it's actually quite useful because now it's lower than this shoulder or this edge of the neck over here, so which actually worked quite well. And then I want to get that line right. So that comes down like that. And then I'm just looking back and forth between the photograph and that. And I think this could actually go a little lower. It's quite an extreme angle. Whoops. Okay, so I'm just going to erase this line. And then I just want to erase the pearl line, the first one that I did, which was a little wrong. Okay, so that's looking more like the picture. Yeah, she actually does have that kind of exaggerated feel. This one could get a little longer. Okay, so at that point, I'm going to travel up the head because I want to, so I'm going to put the ear in, then it'll take me to the hair, and then it'll give me the bottom of the hat. So it'll also help me figure out how long to make this head. Oh, she also has a pearl earring, like the other girl in the Vermeer painting. Okay, so I think my chin could be maybe a little bit longer over here. So my neck, my chin, and then the ear, I'm going to just put in. I'm not putting the earring in just yet. This and the ear, so from here to here, and from here to where the ear stops is roughly the same. The ear might be a little bit longer, but that could be, well, maybe it's a little bit longer. Okay, but I'll right now I'm just going to make it roughly the same size. Then I'm going to look at the angle, excuse me, of the hair. Now the hair's pretty soft over there, so when you do the line of it, don't make it too rough because we need to blur that out. So the reason I'm making it a line right now is just to get those angles. Okay, so this comes up like that. Okay, and around the head, and let's just see. Okay, that looks about, it's like, maybe that's a little high. Probably needs to come over. I probably had it actually correct. This comes up to about here. Oh, yeah, so long as it looks okay, I think that's fine. Okay, and then the curve of the hat down here is actually quite a nice line. It looks like it's just coming over, but it's actually a little flatter over here. And then it comes at a different angle, something like that. So we've got two angles over there. And then it seems to want to come out kind of like that. So she has kind of a nice little curvy, kind of quirky angle to this hat over there. And then I'm just going to figure out where it might go by putting it to the back of the hair. Okay, but I'm not going to do too much because I want to get back there when I still want to finish the rest of the face. So I'm going to carry on with that. Now a hat, from what I can see, is too high up. Okay, so this needs to come down a little bit where the ear might be. So if I put another ear over there, it comes somewhere over here. This is a little higher than the ear, which I think is correct. This comes down, the eye would be over here. So she has quite a big forehead, the eyebrow would be there. So this would be the eyebrow. I'm just going to put a little bit of the nose in. But I don't want you to do too much of the nose because what we need to do is we need to make sure it's not in the center. So this is just to show you where I am. So this would be the eye. There's a little sort of indentation-ish kind of thing. And then the cheek is over here. And that's pretty straight, but it's not exactly vertical. Okay, and then this comes down, this is pretty much correct. And then, yeah, actually it's working out quite well because she has kind of this double chin. And so now, because my neck was actually a bit too long, when I put my double chin in, it actually turns out to be correct, which is quite nice. It's like, what is it like? I don't know. When you meet up, you find you've done the right thing. I can't remember. Maybe it's, I don't know. I can't remember. It reminds me of something, but I can't remember what. But anyway, it's nice when you come back and you realize you've actually got the right proportions. Okay, so her head does look a little bit fat on the right hand side, so I'm just going to bring that line in, just a very small amount, like an eighth of an inch, because she has kind of a long face, but I think I'm just going to take it off on the top. Alright, so at this point I would like to see other people's drawings. Let me just get rid of that line. Alright, so where did I get to? Okay, so I'm just checking because I told everybody else all these things. I think my neck is also just a teeny little bit thick, so I'm just going to make that a little smaller. The other thing is when we put the shadow in, that will also make the neck look thinner. So, because I want to, when I'm doing this, I'm thinking, oh, maybe this needs to come in. We will soon find out. So I'm thinking, well, making it thinner, I don't want to make it too thin because I don't want it right under the chin. I actually want it right under this part over here, so it's in the right spot. So I'm thinking, it's still a bit thick, so it's probably this side. But let me draw the shadow in. We'll actually do, I'm going to do the hat right now. And then we will do the features and then the shadow, and then we'll see where we are. Okay, I'm just going to move this back a little bit so we can see the top of the paper. Okay, just a sec. I just want to move my camera up. There we go. Oops, come on. All right. Okay, so it's a little skew. I hope that doesn't make it look wrong. All right, so I'm going back to the hair over here. Okay, so this is going over the ear. So I'm going to do the hair behind the ear. So the first thing I want to do is see how far it goes out. It's about the same width as the ear. So the hair, maybe it's a little bigger than that. Okay, and again, I'm just doing it with a line, even though it's kind of fuzzy. And whilst we're here, you know what, I'm going to put that earring in. So, because I could leave it till the end, but I don't want to forget about it, so I'm putting that earring in. Oh, the other video I will finish, or the other lesson I will finish as a video, and then I'll send you, because we need to draw the earring for that one as well. So, I will finish it off and send it to you. Alright, I'm just going to zoom in. The nice thing about not printing it out is you can zoom in. So if you have it on a device, this picture, then use that. Okay, so what I'm doing, let me zoom into mine as well so you can see. Okay, so with my earring, what I was doing, I'm just making a area over here where I'm going to put my highlight, and then I'm just going to shade the rest of it in, so we get a feeling of where the highlight is. And seeing as we're there, if you have your blending tool, this thing, then you can actually blend that. We might as well. If you have a Q-tip or your finger may be a little thick, so Q-tip would work, but if you do just have a piece of paper, you can actually roll it up. So you can actually, sorry, you can't actually see what I'm doing. So you can actually roll it into a point. It may actually not be hugely strong. It may crumble and collapse, but you can take your paper towel and do that, and hopefully that will work. It's a little, like I said, a little floppy, but you get kind of a point, which works if you don't have a blending tool. So, you know, if you've got more time, you can actually make it a little bit stronger, and that's what you can use. So, and you don't have to blend. Okay, so sorry, this is a little diversion. I just wanted to get this started. Okay, all right, and then I'm going to leave that there, come back to it hopefully later on and do all the other things. Oops, in it. Whoops, there we go. All right, so back to the hair. So we've got this, we've got the earring. It kind of looks, yeah, actually it looks like it's in the right place. This is maybe needing a little adjustment, but I'm going to carry on with the hair. Okay, so think about the angle. Okay, the hair comes down here. Comes to about here before we go into this angle over here. And then it gets a little vague because we've got like hair and then the blue thing at the back. But that's basically where the hair is. Maybe I'll leave. I'm just going to put a little indication of the hair clips. So it's kind of sketchy the way I did that. I just want to make sure it's like a little bit of white if I put it in. Nothing too detailed, because the detail's in the face. Okay, so I want to put the blue in. It starts where that bend in the ear is, which is basically where the hair is. So I'm going to bring that out over here. And the further away we get from the face, the less detailed it has to be, because you actually want the focus on the face. Rembrandt actually put detail in, but it's probably deceptive. He probably put less detail in than you would think. It's an illusion that he put lots of detail in. So that's another thing. If you have it on a device, you can zoom in and see how little detail he actually did put in. It's kind of scruffy painting, is Rembrandt. Okay, that looks a little high up, so I think I need to change the angle. I think I had it right the first time. Okay, so that looks more like that. And then over here, just putting that black part of the hat in. Well, I think she's got a feather at the back, hasn't she, or something? I think that blue thing is a feather. Okay. Alright, this goes like that. Maybe I need to bring this a little lower. And then I'm going to come down here Actually, let's see where the hair starts. Somewhere over here. She obviously has an earring on the other side. That's what that droopy thing is. And I made it a little higher than that one. So her shoulder's going down and her earring's going up. So it looks like perspective is kind of doing something. Or there's two lines of perspective. There's one going up this way where this is higher than that, and then there's one going down this way where this is lower than that. So it's like it's diverging into two perspectives. So you've got to keep an eye on that because nature does strange things. Not what you'd expect. Okay, so that's that. This comes out between the eye and the nose. The nose is going to be there, so this is going to come out over here. It's about this wide, sort of. There's a little bump, and then it kind of comes up like that. So again, like I said, don't have to worry too much about this part because it's just a frame for the face. So more detail goes in the face and less in the stuff around it. So I'm just gonna, again, just putting this over here, just go down, just for a frame, and then also kind of to remind me where it goes. Okay, that looks good. All right, so now I'm going to go on the part that interests me the most, which is the face. I just have to turn this around so I can see her. Okay, so I'm going to draw the shadow like it's an object. Oh, she has clothes, but we'll do those later. Okay, so roughly around here is where the shadow divides, or the neck divides into shadow and light. The light part is wider. That's actually important because we're seeing it from an angle. So your light part needs to be needs to be wide, and your dark part needs to be not so wide. And then you can just shade it flatly, like we did with the other one. Basically, you're just drawing the shadow, coloring the shadow in. Okay, I have a line over here which is quite nice because that's where the shadow goes, so you can make this a little darker up here, kind of halfway, and then this part, just leave it. I have a little line, there's a little shadow, but don't close it, leave it open because the light is over there, and that helps to make her look three-dimensional. And then it's very light, but there is an angle over here, so I'm going to put that in for you. This is a little darker than it is in the picture, but I'm gonna put it in so you can see it. Then it seems to go around the chin like that, and then we got the lips, and I'm just gonna, I probably need to put the features in because I'm going to start drawing the shadow and it's gonna be out of proportion. So I'm putting a little bit of shadow in. Okay, so far you can see my shadow part is much narrower than my light part. So if you have a shadow that comes halfway, you need to change it. You need to make that shadow shorter. All right. So I'm stopping my shadow there before I go wrong. I'm going back up to the eye and the nose. Okay, so my nose line, see, this is very short, this is very long. So we're going to start with that nose line. And this is your eyebrow. So where the hat kind of bends, that's where your eyebrow is. Comes over here, and this is the edge of the shadow. Comes down the nose to about here. So I'm not sure where the nose ends, just kind of vaguely in the middle of nowhere. So I have to look back at my picture, and I think my ear might be just a little too long. So I'm going to move my ear up, and then this is, the bottom of the ear is where the nose ends. So I'm going to put a little line to know where my nose ends. Okay, and then just watching angles. So my angle of my nose is slightly too diagonal. I need to straighten it a little bit. Okay, and then comes around. She has like a little bump on the end of her nose. Comes around like that. Okay, and then we're going to continue drawing the shadow into the nostrils. You don't have to do it this way. This is just what took my fancy at this point. Okay, and then this comes out at an angle over here. I'm just going to shade that in. Okay, good. And then that disappears, but it basically comes down like that. And it comes around. And then this would be where the bottom of the mouth is. So at this point, it just disappears into light, so I wouldn't worry hugely So long as it comes out here, comes around here, it's like framing the chin. And so long as it's rough, you could even just do a curve over here right now. You don't have to. The main thing is to make that short, make everything kind of off to the side. Okay. Actually, is everyone doing okay? Do you need help, by the way? Good, Lydia? You need help? Okay, good. All right, Olivia, how are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm still shading the face.
Okay, do you want to show me? Are you okay?
Yeah.
You're fine? Okay, and Edward and Emma, do you need help?
No, we're fine.
Okay, all right, good. Then I will continue. Okay, so this, yeah, it just is a problem-solving thing because you've got to keep watching because things change quite quickly. Okay, so over here, I'm going to bring that shadow up the forehead a little bit. There, it comes out at a slight angle, and then it comes down to meet the eyebrow. So I'm going to shade that in, but I've got to be careful because the eyelid itself is in light, which is actually very nice. It's kind of I love painting eyes when they have shadow like that. That light of the skin against the shadow, and the skin is actually really nice. So for me, that's very important. I do not want to miss that light part. So I'm going to shade around that so I've got a nice bright eyelid. And then I'm going to ignore the rest of the eye for now because I'm still doing the shadow. So that was just a thing I had to take note of. And I'm going to continue the shadow down the nose. So I'm shading it as I'm going so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. All right, so I'm also looking at the shape of the light in here to know where I'm going to put the shadow on the side of the nose. And this comes out, this is kind of where you have your bags under your eyes. It kind of comes out a little bit and then stops. Actually, you know what, I'm going to zoom in just a touch over there.
I always found it funny that I have multiple kinds of charcoal, and the hard charcoal is actually lighter than the soft charcoal, and I find that kind of funny.
Well, the hard charcoal has stuff in it. So the soft charcoal is basically burnt wood, and that's it. And the hard charcoal is mixed with something called a binder, which is like a glue. And so that's what makes it light. There's actually less charcoal in your hard charcoal. So the softer it is, the more charcoal you have in it. But then it goes down. I mean, it disappears into a tiny little stick of charcoal. Whereas the hard charcoal lasts forever. But I don't like the hard charcoal because you get bits of stuff in it and then you can't draw. It's like you're getting into it and suddenly it doesn't draw anymore. So, but that's with pencils. When you have an H pencil, like a 2H or a 3H or a 4H, the H stands for hard, which means the graphite in the pencil has lots of that binder in as well, which means it's got less stuff to draw with. That's what it means. So charcoal is just the same. Okay, so my charcoal is, I think it's got something in the middle. It has like a something in the middle. And then in charcoal on the outside, it has some sort of stick so it doesn't crumble. But it's basically just burnt wood. Mine is very soft charcoal. Okay, so this is the bag of the eye shadow. Then it comes down a little bit more, comes out to the right a little bit. And then we got to see where does it bend. It bends basically at the bottom of the nose. Comes out over there. And then reaches up to the eye. Before I do all the details over here, I'm just going to shade this in. And then I'm just going to work on the shadow on this side. Then I'd love to see your drawings. So just a minute more doing this and then I'll have a look. Because I want to make sure we have everything proportionally correct. Okay, so right here, you know what, I'm going to take it over because I don't actually like, it's very easy to stop like at the edge of something, so the edge of the face. You just want to stop there, but the shadow doesn't do that. Shadows just, they go everywhere. So if you do that, you kind of make your drawing not so realistic. So I always like to take the shadow wherever it needs to be. which is quite a lot of work over here because kind of lots of things are in shadow. But I just want to get that feeling that the shadow is cast over the whole head and not just the face, because she already looks nice and three-dimensional because of that. There we go. So so a lot of you had nice light over here, and then not all of you, one or two had a little bit too much dark down here. So in fact, I'm just gonna, you can take your eraser, you can take your blending tool, you can take your paper towel. In fact, I'm going to take my paper towel because my blending tool is making it too dark. And I'm just going to lighten this part up. And then the neck shadow is actually a lot darker than this. So I'm not going to touch the neck. Then I'm just going to lighten this up. So I'm going to take it slowly, work the darks and the lights back into it. And just lightening it up. So some of you actually had some really nice lights in the eye, in the shadow in the eye, which I really liked. So yeah, my blending tool is a lot better than my paper towel. Well, it's just easier to control. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna use my blending tool. Where shall I start? I'm gonna start down here. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the neck because I just want to blend the edges. So you can take your pencil and shade into the neck if you want to. You can take your finger, your blending tool, just pull it out. Basically, whatever way you can think of to get rid of the edge of the shadow by the neck. And then as I'm doing it, I'm just getting rid of my charcoal lines. It actually goes under the necklace, but I'm not that interested in the necklace at the moment. I'm interested in the shadow, so I'm not going to bother with the necklace. All right, so I'm going to add a little more darkness to this. And down the shoulder, you know, I actually, even though I'm not doing the necklace, the shadow doesn't stop. It actually goes down the shoulder and into the clothes, but we haven't done the clothes, so I'm just going to leave that like that. Okay, let's see. So shadow, as the chin is like bending onto the neck, it actually gives a shadow over there. So this part is a little darker. And then I'm going to erase this a little bit. Now I really want my kneadable eraser, which I don't think is, well, it's not handy and I forgot to put it out. Oh well, that's okay. The problem is just wiping off the little bits. Okay, so I've got rid of that, but there is a little shadow there. So I want to just take my charcoal, which is basically the dust of that charcoal, pull it up, and then look very carefully over here, like to see which is lighter and darker. So the chin part is actually slightly darker than the neck. The bright light is hitting the neck more directly than the chin. So as I'm doing this, I'm just going to make my paper, which is the chin really, but I'm just making my paper a little bit darker on the chin side so that I get that 3D feel. And this is not something that you have to do. The reason I do this is just because I love it, and a lot of people love doing this. It's just really nice, you know, to observe. There's so many interesting things, just, you know, like in this chin with all the little bends and like little grooves, and then there's lights and darks, and it's just lovely to draw that. So for me, this is what I like to do, but I think a lot of people actually quite like this too. And even if you do abstract work, it's the same thing, because you're looking at things all the time in light, and so you're learning from that. I mean, it's giving sense to the way you move through spaces, you know, even from here to the kitchen or whatever. You're still constantly thinking about how light is playing on objects so you don't crash into them. And so that's so much part of our lives that it's actually just very meaningful to draw shadows. So it's not just so it looks like a photograph. It's more interesting than that. It's really about drawing the space and us kind of living in space. Like my hand can move in this space, and even though we don't think about it that much, it actually is a very important part of how we experience things. So I think, I can't be sure, but I think that's why I like drawing shadow and light as much as I do. Okay, so as I'm doing this, what I'm doing, I'm getting my tones to change. So the one in the neck is a little bit darker now. It could be even darker, which I'll come back and do that. Then I've got this lighter, which is good. And then depending on the texture, how things feel, so the skin feels soft, that's how the shadow kind of plays from dark to light. So this is just kind of fading in a misty way into this part of the face because she has kind of these chubby little cheeks. And so that's why the shadow is doing that. Over here it's a little sharper. My paper keeps moving. Over here it's just a little bit sharper because there's a crease, so your shadow doesn't dissolve quite as much over there. And then at this point, on this little corner, it dissolves again. Oh, and I was going to go, and it's slow work. I mean, it's nicely slow. You don't want to rush through it because it's actually quite nice. So I don't want to go too fast over here. I want to go back down here and just not too far to this side, not too far to that side. I'm just going to put a little darkness in the center. Because I've got light coming from one side, light coming from the other, and in the middle, between the two, there's actually not as much light. So you get this dark shadow, or this dark part in the shadow. So even darker in the shadow. And when you do that, it actually looks rounder. So, because it's just, that's what it is. I mean, this is further forward, this is catching light, this is catching light. So it's just automatically making it look three-dimensional, which is very nice. Okay, so she's starting to look round. Okay, so where am I? Over here. I'm going to dissolve the edge. Okay, so here we actually, you know what, we're at the mouth. I need to figure out what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to draw a little more with my charcoal. Okay, so that's a little shadow under the mouth. It comes down a little bit over here. I've got to, as I'm doing this, you know, we see that it goes down, and then it's very easy to forget that it actually stops, and then you do this very long line, and then you wonder what went wrong. That's because you've got to think about length relationship, how this shape looks when you've done that. Does it look like it does? And it sort of does, but then there's like a patch of light over here, and then this comes up a little bit over here. So, you know, you've got to think about how everything looks if you want to get it accurate. And then over here you got to think about, well, how wide is that? Okay, and I think mine is fine. Okay, so this would be under the mouth would be here, the middle of the mouth is somewhere over here. So before I put the shape of the mouth in, I'm just getting it proportionally correct. So I want to, okay, that's fine. How far over? Edge of the nose, edge of the mouth. Okay, so that needs to come over a little bit over there. And then this actually needs to come down into that. So I actually need to move that down. Like that. She doesn't look too bad. She's a little different from the photograph, but she looks human, so that's good. Okay, so I didn't draw the mouth. I drew the shadows around the mouth, which is more telling of what the mouth is doing than the mouth itself. And then just softening that, so blending it in, watching where the shadow ends, making sure I've got a little, still got a dark part over there because that's where it goes in and out, so I want to make sure that happens. And then just, I'll blend it out a little bit more over here. And then just blending this shadow, got to keep that angle going, but then it dissolves into the light over here. And then this part is kind of vague because she's got a pink chin and I've got a grey pencil, so, and my shadow is grey. So at this point it's just, well, let's just make the shadow into the pink. And we'll see what happens. Okay, she's not too bad. She's actually not too bad. Okay. I'm just going to carry on. a little bit, and then I'm going to have a look at your pictures in a minute. So I just want to get this complicated stuff around the mouth. So it's dark on the lip. There's a little patch of light over there, and then it gets darker underneath the lip. It's like a map. It's like all these different parts of a country, or all these different countries in a continent, darks and lights, and where do they end and where do they begin? Okay, so I'm starting to be confident that my shadows are okay. I just want to blend this. There's too much of a line over here. I just need to pull that over a little bit. Okay. Okay, so she's not too bad. I'm looking at the lips right now because I want to make this line a little subtler. So what I'm seeing is the upper lip is getting the shadow and the bottom lip is getting the light. It's a little tricky to see because the upper lip is also getting a reflection in the shadow, but the light is cast on the lower lip. So I'm going to bring the shadow up. So not putting any shadow on the lower lip, and I'm going to see what my blending tool does. If that's enough, that's fine. If not, I'll use my charcoal.